We all have that one scene that scarred our childhoods. Scary, violent, strange, or just unsettling enough that you've tried to block the memory of watching it. But it still remains, indented, or perhaps even rooted as one of our formative fears. Maybe you rewatched the scene as an adult, and you realized that it wasn't that bad after all. Or maybe you found that it still holds up, that it still affects you after all this time, but for different reasons that might escape you. For me, that impactful scene is found in a very unassuming movie called Fire in the Sky. The film is loosely based on Travis Walton's alien abduction account. One night after work, he and his colleagues encounter a UFO, and Travis ends up being abducted. Overall, it's a very tame and average movie that shows the events leading up to and surrounding Travis's disappearance and return. Once the film reaches the flashback scene, where we finally see what happened during the abduction, it turns into a whole different and disturbing movie. It's barely over 10 minutes long, but it's a relentless mix of sci-fi and horror that grabs you from the start and doesn't let you go. It's something that young me was not ready to see and haunted my dreams for a long time. I remember the excitement of watching an alien story based on true events quickly fading as Travis's tale unravels and he is put through hell by these tiny old-looking beings. It wasn't just the shocking images that surprised me. There was a deeper, lingering fear that stayed in my mind long after I watched the movie. And what's interesting is that I don't appear to be the only one. If you look up Letterboxd reviews or YouTube comments, you'll find plenty of people that, just like me, were traumatized as children when watching Fire in the Sky. For many, it's one of the scariest scenes in a movie, which is all the more impressive when you think about how unimpressive the rest of the movie is. In today's video, we will be going through this scene and looking at why it's a great example of how to scare, apparently, a whole generation. Be warned that there will be spoilers. Also, this video is sponsored by NordPass, but more on that later. The scene does three things to create fear in the viewer. The first one is a reflection of Travis's mindset when he wakes up. Disorientation. Travis wakes up in an alcove that seems to be a sort of artificial womb, other than the fact that he just woke up somewhere not in the woods. What's strange is that the pod he's in seems to be both organic and technological. On top of that, everything looks old and in disuse, which is somewhat different than what one would expect regarding the look of an alien abduction. Travis exits only to be suspended in the middle of nowhere, not knowing where up or down is, while holding on to an umbilical cord-like lifeline. Gravity is as unpredictable as the chain of events Travis is privy to. His spatial disorientation and wonderment turn to shock once he crashes into a rotting corpse. It adds more questions to the already huge pile of unknowns, like what else is in the other alcoves, and how long have they been there for? The music, the echoes, the lack of dialogue, and the overall sound design add to the surreal and otherworldly feel of the scene. It's also filmed in such a way that we can't get a full grasp on what our eyes are seeing. Things are both familiar and not so. We can't get our bearings because the shots aren't long enough for us to stop and assess what's going on, and maybe attempt at answering the questions. And when they are long enough, there's always an interplay of shadow and light that prevents us from getting a full clear view to anticipate what comes next. What we've seen so far tells us that this place, spaceship, prison, whatever it is, has no rules. At least none that humans can understand. And Travis is like a nameless child, stumbling around a world that is completely alien to him. Once Travis finds the spacesuits and verbalizes it awkwardly for the audience's sake, he comes face to face with the second element that makes the scene so impactful: the aliens. We've already established that the maze Travis is trapped in is far removed from what we would consider as normal, and has its own odd design and unique physics, and that illogicality is also extended to the creatures that inhabit the area. Travis is a full-grown man that, due to his job, we can assume he's pretty strong. He's had such a hard time maneuvering around microgravity that it comes to a surprise that these small, thin and frail creatures grab him so easily and drag him along the garbage-ridden corridors as Travis tries to free himself away. Not to mention the quick manner with which they hold him down to the table and tear his clothes off. The creatures appear weak, but are imposing beings that are beyond what Travis can overpower. One thing that is so unnerving about them is that they seem completely unaffected by Travis's screams. Under any other circumstance, the ferocity and violence with which they act could be considered ill-natured or evil, but that's not the case. They are blank, emotionless. Yes, their actions are menacing, but they are methodical. This odd contrast is terrifying because it proves how far more superior species these aliens are. They're just going about their business, like someone dissecting a frog in biology class. We don't get an explanation for their actions, they don't provide one. Same way that you wouldn't provide one for swatting a fly. To the creatures, Travis is just another piece of meat.
Before we go on, this video is sponsored by NordPass. We all use several accounts in a day, and coming up with a good password isn't always top of mind. The bad thing is this can leave us wide open to people having access to our accounts. NordPass even did the research and found that a lot of people still use their birthdays or convenient keyboard sequences that are easy to hack or just guess. That's why NordPass can be very useful to you. It can do more than just manage your passwords, it can also be a very helpful cybersecurity tool. Use the data breach scanner to find out if any of your information has been leaked and when and where it happened. It can generate complex passwords to keep your account secure. And again, the best part is that NordPass keeps track of all your passwords, even across 6 of your devices, so you don't need to retype them all the time. Also, NordPass is a zero-knowledge password manager, which means that no one else but you will know your encryptions. Try it out for yourself and get an exclusive deal by going to nordpass.com/screened or by using our promo code SCREENED. They also offer 4 months for free. And if you try it and you don't like it, NordPass gives you a 30-day money-back guarantee. So follow the link below, nordpass.com/screened. And now, back to the scene.
The fear of not knowing what is happening and the uncertainty of what comes next is worsened by the scene's relentless nature. We haven't had a breather since the start of the flashback. We haven't had any real dialogue. All that has come out of Travis's mouth is a series of screams that just get worse once the experiments get underway. The creature's actions look painful, seem rudimentary and odd. They make us cringe as we imagine being in the poor man's shoes. Initially, the torture aspect is what freaked me out the most, but now looking back on the scene as a whole, I realized that the torture wasn't the worst part of it. What started off as an exercise in disorientation and confusion has morphed and settled into something else. Among all the questions, there is one certainty paralleled by the slow but sure reading of the needle. Travis is powerless. He's in a place he doesn't know, being brutally overpowered by beings he can't convey his pain to. All means of escape are gone. All that is recognizable is altered and removed. Logic gone with it. Whatever semblance of control he had in his previous life, it's vanished now. Ultimately, what the movie is so effective in communicating through this scene is futility. The fear it conveys comes from dealing with something that is beyond you, like cosmic horror, and just that sense of feeling inconsequential no matter what you do. A thought that even as an adult can still make you feel like a child. Thank you for taking the time to watch our video. Please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe if you haven't done so yet. We're very interested in knowing what scenes scared you the most as a child, so let us know down in the comments. Until next time.